Today's story is titled, Don't Hold Hands with Lost Little Boys at the Beach by Cam Walker 22. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy.
I pitched my tent in a secluded hollow among the dunes. Wind, waves, whispering marram grass. With my back against a bramble-crowned ridge, I watched the sun set over the sea. It was a moment of utter, much-needed bliss. When darkness finally arrived, I went back to my campsite and collapsed onto my airbed, savoring those delicious sounds as I fell asleep. Wind, waves, whispers, wind, waves, whispers. Whispers. No. What then? The flapping of loose canvas? The bark of a distant seal? The shriek of an airborne gull? I sat bolt upright. It was the middle of the night, and there it was again, a sound that did not belong. I rubbed sleep out of my eyes and stumbled groggily towards the beach, still wondering if my ears could be trusted. But as I scrambled down the last slope, I saw a shape to marry with the piteous sobs that had woken me up. A child stood knee-deep in the water, crying.
"Where are your parents?"
I asked, scanning the dark, wind-scoured sands to my left and right. The child did not reply. He was shivering, the ends of his jacket sleeves hanging loose over concealed hands.
"Come back to the beach," I said. "You'll freeze if you stay here."
He shook his head indignantly, so I kicked off my shoes, pulled up the ends of my trousers, and waded out.
"I want to help you, okay? Who did you come here with? Where are they? Did they forget about you? Did you run off?"
The child folded his arms and dropped his head forward.
"Idiot,"
I thought.
"Poor kid's been neglected and you're rubbing salt in the wound. Get him out of the water."
A wave slapped my shin, and the rip took me staggering closer.
"Hey, look, forget about all that. Let's just get you warm and dry first, huh? Then we could think about the whys and the wherefores. You like hot chocolate?"
There was almost an imperceptible twitch in the child's shoulders.
"I've got a whole flask of hot chocolate back at my campsite, and squirting cream and marshmallows too. I can make you a nice cup of hot chocolate, and you could toast some marshmallows over a fire. How about that? Come back to the beach and we'll look for some driftwood skewers."
A pale hand rubbed the back of his neck, and he turned a fifth of the way around.
"Getting somewhere."
I stepped closer, the depth of the foamy water making it fruitless to go on trying to keep my trousers dry, so I let them drop.
"Hey,"
I crooned, reaching out.
"let's go back."
A set of trembling fingers emerged from his sleeve, looking awfully like root nodules searching for sunlight in a buried cavern, grasping for the light and finding only darkness, seeking warmth only to shiver. He took my hand. Immediately, his skin darkened. I assumed it was an optical illusion.
"Let's go,"
I said, and turned. The child did not budge.
"What's the matter?"
And now, finally, he faced me. His eye sockets were vacant. Water bled down his cheeks into two tiny waterfalls. His mouth was open in a wide, never-ending yawn. More water spilled out of this chasm, pouring over his chin to drench the front of his zip-up jacket and jeans. I tugged again, but it was like trying to uproot a mighty oak by pulling on a minor branch.
"What are you doing?"
His grip on my hand tightened.
"Hey! Let's go! Hey!"
I looked down and saw his dark fingers elongate to 3 times their original length. They slithered past my wrist and along my forearm. I clawed at the boy's slimy, kelp-like fingers with my free hand. An involuntary grunt burst through my gritted teeth as I failed to loosen his hold on me.
Get off me, you fucker!
There was no emotion in the boy's eyeless, tongueless face. A series of hiccups came over him as his tentacle arm reached my bicep, and I saw how I'd been hoodwinked. He wasn't crying. He never had been. I'd mistaken this watery coughing sound for genuine tears. It was a trick, a trap, and I walked right into it. He tilted forward, never loosening his grip on me for a second, and slid feet first below the water's surface.
Oh no,
I said.
No, help! Help! Help!
The moon and the stars may have heard my pleas as I was dragged through the surf, but they decided not to intervene. I went on shouting even as I choked on seawater. I went on fighting my captor even as he took me arm first to the depths. In blurred snapshots, I saw the ridge of dunes, the line of ocean detritus marking the most recent high tide, the hideous seaward horizon, the vague shape of a submerged child at the tip of an appendage as thick as a telegraph pole, pulling me down and ever downward. I took one last gasp of air, and then I was under. Bubbles swirled in the cold vacuum. My inner ear screamed at the growing pressure. Then came a period of sensory deprivation. Was I moving? Was I upside down? Was I conscious? Was I dead? I hit the seabed. A cloud of silt wreathed me. Something spiny, small and unseen, scuttled out from under my back and was gone. I felt myself being lifted, and again I slammed into the ocean floor, this time face first. My lungs emptied. The air replaced reflexively by grainy salt water. My arm was dragged firmly through a cold, sandy hole, and it continued to be pulled in with the piston-like rhythm of a snake swallowing a rabbit. I screamed silently as I was eaten. Gradually, the bone-deep chill came to be replaced by a hazy warmth. A lovely, peaceful feeling blossomed in the back of my brain. This is it. That nice feeling you get just before you die. And then, I was awake, lying on my side. I added the rest of the water filling my lungs to the puddle of ejected fluid dribbling from the corner of my mouth, and pushed myself upright. The air in this new place was hot and sulfuric, but breathable.
Hello?
I croaked, cringing as my voice found no room to echo. I flexed my hands, noticing the boy had let me go, and groped through the darkness. My palms pushed against squishy walls hardly wider than my shoulders. I was in some kind of fleshy coffin. Hot sweats burst out all over my body, and I began to hyperventilate, searching in vain for an exit. I screamed until I had no voice left to scream with, and slumped back to the floor in exhaustion after my pleas went unanswered. When my senses had returned somewhat, the tears began to fall. What the hell had happened to me? Was this my reward for trying to help a crying kid to safety? As I brooded, something licked a fallen teardrop from my chin and retraced its track down my cheek. Then it was gone.
Who's there?
Silence.
That you, kid?
He's not a kid. He never was. I felt something tickle a lock of my hair, and my hand darted up to grab it. The thing I held was wet and warm and tongue-like. It tried to wriggle free, but I squeezed as it retracted.
How do you like it, huh?
Refusing to let go, despite losing this tug of war, it pulled me all the way to the wall, where I felt the thing disappear inside a tiny hollow. My hand followed it, penetrating through until a gentle suction took hold, at which point I let go and stepped away. Feeling the air shift behind me, I kicked out, preempting some other invasion, and was horrified to feel my leg whip through a dense clump of tongues that recoiled at my touch. Even knowing there was no escape, I threw my body weight against the wall in the hope that it would give, begging for mercy, praying for a reprieve, anything. Instead, the tongues found me once more, and this time they weren't so shy. Hundreds of the things tasted me. The walls rumbled and groaned, and I was quickly soaked by a nauseating, viscous fluid. The fondling intensified.
Please.
3 tongues darted into my mouth, eager to explore. I shook my head like a wet dog and managed to expel them. My prison shuddered, and a shower of water poured in from above. For a few seconds, I was alone. Salt water. The thought was rapidly set aside when my lulling tormentors set about smothering me again. Once more came the sensation of a violent earthquake, and, with the rumble of a giant hiccup, black seawater buried me. I was sucked partially out via the ocean's entry point when the twin jaws of a hard, blunt ridge chewed me at the ribs. The first bite was gentler than the second. I felt the crunch of bones snapping in my sides when the toothless maw bit me the next time. And then, I blacked out. Next thing I knew, I was lying washed up on the beach in the middle of the night. It hurt too much to stand upright, but cradling my broken ribs, I made it back to my car. I left my tent and my gear in the dunes. I'm sorry, I couldn't give 2 shits about packing it away just then. I needed to get away. Inland, anywhere.